One of the biggest kickers to this game is the amount of upgrades and everything that you need to do. It's actually really easy to mass upgrade and manage everything. Now, you can come in and individually look at a region and upgrade it. However, a really good way to do it so that you don't get overwhelmed by how many buildings there are is to simply click into this mode and go into your zones. Now, in your zones tab, you can click on the individual province and you can select recommended buildings. For instance, farming goes with tobacco. I don't have to figure that out when I'm looking at things, what building corresponds to that resource. So I can build a industrial farm on that. I can also click and add anything I want this way. It's a lot faster and it keeps everything really organized. Now, the next special thing is you can go down to your improvements. This is how you mass upgrade and mass assign crafting items to enhance the productivity of buildings. So I don't have to click on every building and know what's missing. I can see that right here. I want to upgrade the gathering hall. I don't have to click on it. I just go to this tab and improvements. So select the city, go to the improvements tab, and you can go down the line. This is especially useful in the late game when you're assigning like heavy plows, fertilizers to all these new farms. I can upgrade the farm from here. Now remember, you can only have 8 in a queue currently as of this gameplay. So if it's not working, make sure like go over here and say, oh, I have 8. You can also assign your experts here too, and you can see what they do. So I can highlight here, it says 150% harvest production plus 1 wealth per turn. That's pretty good. I can see the effect, I can take it off. So this allows you to play with things at a grand scale. You can see I have an airport. And what's cool about this is that when I put an expert here, it gives my city 15% prosperity. I'm already at 100 here, so you can't see it go. But that's amazing. Another thing I want to show you is with amenities. So amenities give your city massive bonuses. They're things you craft. This is grain store, very viable thing early late game. Now, what you probably don't know is, okay, how much am I producing? This stuff gets overwhelming, okay? I mean, you're talking 40, 50, 70, 80 items, but you can simplify that. I can highlight this beer. Say I want to use this beer. I am producing 0.6 beer per turn, and I am consuming 0.3. Now, when looking at amenities in the city, they're usually consumed every 10 to 5 turns. So you see this, 5 and 10. So take that 10 divided by 1, that would be a 0.1 consumption increase. So I can afford that. I could afford 3 of these, okay? Because they're 10. With the 5, so down here, that would be a 0.2 consumption per turn. Because every 5 turns, it's consuming 1. So it will also tell you if you're going to run out of that good. It will give you a red flashy. Right now, I'm in a really good production, and everything is hunky-dory. Now, up in the top right corner, there are 5 tabs. 1 to view and manage your goals. 1 to manage your crafting queues, so you can easily see what is not producing and what is producing, and what those individual things are producing. You can even dial in on the exact crafting you're looking for. So if you want to look at what you're producing in your factories, you can dial it down on that. If you want to look at what you're producing in blacksmiths, you can dial down on that. And yes, game has an insane amount of crafting. The next one is manage your nation's inventory. This will tell you every resource that's coming in and its production and consumption per turn. So you can see what areas you would need to improve if you want to use that in additional production. You can go down to goods, see the same thing, reserves, and you can even see your masterpiece. And again, type, subtype, you can search by name. And then this is view and manage your master sets tab. So if you want to put all your masterpieces together and get a massive bonus, come over here and click on the masterpieces set tab, and then you can choose a set. I have concert halls, museums, exhibition halls, opera house, art gallery. So now I can choose, I do have a master stonecutter set, and this is going to get me a massive amount of prestige. You will receive 10 prestige per masterpiece slotted in this set every turn, okay? That is a game changer. This is incredibly important. Another thing that I want to talk about is paragons. So up in the top left, you can view your government, your religion, your paragons, your region, and your advisors. Now, paragons are people you get randomly from historical. Like I have Homer up here giving plus 10 knowledge to all cities. Now, certain leaders will get these easier, certain won't. They're kind of like great people, but they stay around forever. Now, you can assign your paragons to work on great works, okay? So I have a lot of people making artwork, all that. And when you get a person it will assign it for you, so don't worry. So paragons are used to create masterpieces. Each time they create a masterpiece, you get 50 prestige, and then later on, you combine them to sets, and that's where they really shine. So in this region, I can see all the improvements. I can highlight and see every building. It's actually really not that useful, but it is nice looking. And then you can see your government. Now, governments are pretty good. I like direct democracy for the city prosperity. I keep my taxes low. If you keep your taxes low, you get plus 15 happiness, 10% city growth, plus 15% research in all cities while taxes are set to this rate. If I were to go to medium, I get more money, but I don't get any of those benefits. And if I go this way, I get very sad people. So if you're cool without the happiness and research, and I will say this, happiness is incredibly easy to get up with amenities. So, 600 coins could help you, because what you do on anything is, you put the supply into it. Let's pick something where it matters. You put the supply into it, and then you can accelerate production. If you are crafting the item, you can use that item, or typically you can use wealth. So wealth is one of the easiest ways to accelerate production, and it is tremendous. Sometimes it can range between 100 and thousands of percentage points. So going into this, these things are consumed every turn. Whatever you put into here is consumed every turn. Supplies, however, aren't consumed. They're just placed. You just put one tool in there. That's it. There's no additional cost. And these have the biggest impact. You can see here that heavy tools is plus 50% craft production, 100% harvest production. And I am crafting those specifically at a manufacturing facility. Now, I have Let's Plays if this is too confusing for you, and you can just watch me and I'll explain this in greater detail. But I'm just going to briefly cover on this stuff. So I'm making fuel here, and I made a computer. So that computer gives me plus 200% craft production. This is much later in the game. So you can see this right here, then this on top of it. You can take your production from nothing all the way up to like 193. So the original value was 55, and now we're at 193 using all of these. Now I put an expert. It goes up to 261, really, and I haven't even upgraded it yet. So we'll upgrade it into a factory, and then it'll produce even more of that good. Now you get these experts, okay? You get these experts as you level your city. Now, if you come over here and highlight your growth tab, it will tell you exactly why you're not growing, be it food right now. You can see right here, I have 19 of 23 housing. So if it says like 20 out of 20, you need a house to grow. Even if you have negative food, you can make that deduction. You cannot grow over how much housing you have. And it will tell you, I'm getting dwelling plus 3, residence plus 4, town center plus 5. Now, the town center is the beginning building that you start off with. And you can put experts in here to increase the craft production. I'm making festivals, which give plus 50 city growth, plus 10 happiness, plus 5 city food here. I can make a whole thing. There's a lot of crafting in this game. I'm not going to go into. Now let's talk about quality of life and why you're putting in all of these amenities. Like I'm putting in glass. That's getting me plus 20. If you get your happiness to 70, you go from a plus 10% city production to plus 25% city production. If you get your health up to 100, it's 100% city growth. So that's an addition. If it goes into the negative, you get a negative percentage to your natural stats. So my forces get negative 10% force strength in this region because my security is low. Prosperity is one of the big ones. I'm getting negative 10% tax income because I have not done my prosperity. Now you can get these things up through multiple ways. Amenities and individual buildings. Like you saw with the airport, I can build an airport, put an expert into it and get a plus 15%. Also things like the dwelling, like you can put furniture and you'll get like plus 2, plus 3, like health. So you can get your health up pretty easy with buildings in the game. So there's multiple avenues, buildings, supplies, amenities. I mean, it's like the trifecta of min-maxing this game. Now, another thing I want to touch on is religion. Religion is powerful. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 religious verses. So as your religion spreads, I have one of the most dominant religions in the game. You get more verses. So look at this verse, plus 5 knowledge in all cities. That's forever. That's forever. My religion is more powerful than my starting leader, plus 5 health, plus 15 health in all cities, plus 6 food per turn, plus 5 happiness in all cities, plus 10 build production towards industry improvement. Now, every time you get a verse, you get to select from 3 choices. These are the choices I made. So you can really dial your religion to increase the things that you have deficits in. So do not underestimate religion. It's probably actually one of the most important mechanics in the game. Now let's talk about another thing, which is probably kind of elusive, because it was for me. It took me like 10 hours to figure this one out, is merchants. What the hell do merchants do? Like starting merchants. So merchants allow you to trade one good with people you have a trade agreement for. So if I need any good that I'm not producing, something like wheat per se, because wheat is used to accelerate certain advancements. There's certain buildings you can't build in the game. Like there's something called the flower bed. And the flower bed requires you have flowers to build it. And once you build it, it produces flowers. So I could trade for those initial flowers so that I can produce flowers myself. So what it requires is either you have a dock or naval routes or an airport if you have an airport, you can fling your trade that way, or you have road connections. Now, road connections are the easiest thing to do in the game. Click on any city, go to manage roads, and you can see what road networks you have. And you can build roads by clicking one and then selecting another. Now, I already have paths. So right here, I'm making a new path because we didn't have one. So they're building a road for a certain amount of materials. So because I have a road down here to Georgia, I can click on my diplomacy tab. I can come over to Georgia. I have to be neutral to trade. All right. Anyway, once you get this, you can trade resources, but you're capped. You're capped by how many merchants you have. And you unlock merchants through buildings, through your city leader points, but however many merchants you have is how many individual resources you can set trade agreements for. You want merchants if you want to set up trade routes, and vice versa if you want to sell things to people for money. And you can probably make quite a bit of money selling things that you're producing. I'm always producing way more than I need of certain things. You can see I have 27,000 food. So maybe I want to trade that 27,000 food for money if I'm having monetary issues because I'm trying to accelerate growth and I'm building buildings which will help me, maintain that level, but I'm not quite there yet. All right. So the next thing I want to go over is the bottom left. The bottom left is actually relatively important. It's your Manage Forces tab. It allows you to kind of see everything that you have going on, what your max forces are for those eras. So I'm in the late era. So one of the most important tools in the game is the Encarta up here in the top right. This will give you grand details on everything. Now, one of the most elusive things that is not apparent when you first look at it is how the hell does the combat system work in this game? And it's actually really, really interesting. So force strength is going to be based upon a couple of things: the formation of the unit and where that unit is drafted from. So in this game, you have a reserve system and you can pull them into any city. They don't have to be pulled from the city they were created in. And right here, what city units are drafted. Reserves do not matter. However, the city where the forces are deployed determines if there are any strength modifiers from city security. So there's a thing in this game called city security. So if you draft a unit in a city with low city security, it's going to be shit. Okay, so you basically want to pick a place that you build up to have a high city security and draft all your units there so that you're making Supermen. This allows nations to use high production in one city quickly to draft reserves and deploy forces in another city with a high security. So your main city might suck. You might have negative security, but you can pump units out into your reserve system. Then you draft them at a military base. Very, very useful. When I read this, I was like, holy shit. Been doing it wrong. Another thing I want to talk about is unit formations are pretty damn important. So down here, formation tactics. There's formations, and then there's formation tactics. And let me actually show you this one. So say I come down to my deploy forces, right? I have a bunch of line infantry. So if I come down to something like a division, there's another tab called tactics. So there's a swarm, blitz, and trapezoid tactic. So this is a formation, a land formation comprises 6 slots. So if I just do a division, I get the basic stuff, right? And I don't want to do it in a city where I have, a weak. Here, I have a 0 security. So what I've done is tried to, with policy, create the best security possible. And unfortunately, I'm pretty bad. So you can use your amenities. You can get your security all the way up to 100%, and you'll get a higher force strength modifier when you draft these units. This is a bad example, but it still applies, right? Then you go to your division tab. You put in your 6 units here. And if I can do it, this one I can do trapezoid, provides plus 15 strength. That's pretty amazing. Now blitz says it's comprised of 6 armored units, all right? It's important to note these things. Swarm Requires a land formation comprised of 2 gunpowder infantry, 2 gun cavalry, and 2 artillery units, and that will give you a 10% strength bonus, which would be way more. 15 strength is nice though. So I can basically put any combination I want. And this is going to have a strength of 234 versus just default, which is also 234. So it must special actions pillage and besiege. So that's kind of interesting. And you can see our speed is pretty shit. And it requires a lot of gunpowder. So you need to be producing an enormous amount of gunpowder for this. But when you're in the deploy tab, you click on this green icon here. So wherever I select, you can see down here, it's selecting the deploy city. But these are just some really interesting features, and I will elaborate more detail in later Let's Plays on this, but I just want you to be aware of that. So I do have, of course, an Air Force cap. So down here in the bottom left, we have Land Force cap, Sea Force cap, Air Force cap, and your city cap. And it will give you a breakdown of everything. So you can see I have 2 buildings, my palace and a wonder, that allow me to have additional city values. The form of governance you have will impact how many cities you can have. And if you hover over the Land Forces cap, you'll see I am getting a +4 from having a city tier 24. 2 city tier 25s is also giving me +4. So it will give you your base value and your additions. So the more population you have, the higher your Land Forces caps can be. And in your Forces tab, you can break it down by land. I mean, this game has a lot of great breakdowns. And as you can see, you can come to your window and see what's going on. And you can see the technology library. I'm just going to go over it very briefly for everybody. So there are 3 acts. You can go way beyond your act's technology. I believe I got like into the early Middle Ages before Act 2 really ended. But it has kind of separated them by where you should be. And honestly, this is quite a bit of technology. So you have your ancient history, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Antiquities, early Middle Ages, high medieval era, Renaissance, Enlightenment, Machine Age, the Atomic Age, the Information Age, and the Singularity Age. And each of these technologies is vast. So here's the Machine Age. Look how many technologies there are there. The Atomic Age is really big. Information Age is a bit smaller, so Singularity. And the ones before it are also very, very long in length. It's I honestly was like, wow, it's continuing to go. Like, really? Another thing I just want to prepare you for, like I said, here's an aircraft factory where I am producing fuselage. This is the only thing that produces, but you will get to a point where you have your crafting stations will upgrade into factories, and you'll be able to create internal combustion engines, indoor stoves, which can be put in houses, industrial tools, metal tools, machine parts, looms, all types of stuff that is going to vastly influence productivity, computers being a huge component of that. Television, if you put it in a house, it gives +3 happiness. As an amenity, gives +15 city happiness, but lowers production. So like I said, happiness is one of the easiest things in my personal opinion to get up. There are lots of really big ticket items. Computers can vastly increase your tech points, but I prefer to focus on items that give food, as your house cannot grow. Like I said, if you don't have a housing capacity in excess of your population, and if you do not have a lot of positive food values. So anything that can give you food and also increase city growth. As you can see here, this one gives +25% city growth, so that will increase the rate at which things are growing. And there are a lot of items to do that with. There's even a record, like a music studio. It would be too difficult for me to go into all the details of every single thing that is in the game at this time, as I am still, learning a lot. I hope you enjoyed this guide. Leave a comment below if you have any observations or any tips that you think people would benefit from, and have a great and wonderful day. I will be posting a Let's Play at the end of this right now.